Okay, we are delighted to be at Macquarie University Business School, the Entrepreneurship Hub, specifically where they nurture innovations and startups. And of course, we are going to be dealing with the depth analysis of the activities that they conduct at the Entrepreneurship Hub. But the topic is to discuss the entrepreneurship mindset. What mindset does an entrepreneur ought to have and also be able in position to upscale their business? Clinton, thank you so much for being a part of us.
Well, Uganda has the world's youngest population, with over 78% of its population below the age of 30. But however, it is so challenging that the highest number of these people are still unemployed, which hinders the development of our country. But still, cultivating an entrepreneurial mindset today helps empower the young people out there to be resilient when it comes to startups, like my colleague said, and that's what we are here to break down today.
I'm simply happy to be here today. My name is Samani. Welcome.
Good. For the youth watching us today, we have a very esteemed guest, Dr. Catherine Komujisha, who is a senior lecturer and researcher for entrepreneurship and small medium business management. So she's definitely going to give us a very depth analysis on what an entrepreneurship mindset looks like. What do you need to do, or how do you need to think to be a complete entrepreneur? And of course, that's where we are today at the Hub, and we are delighted to have that feel to know what entrepreneurship means. Dr. Catherine, you're very much welcome.
Thank you, Clinton, and hello viewers. Today I'm very happy to talk to the youth because as a university lecturer, this is what we do to enable the future. At MOBS, we enable the future of our students. And like I was introduced, I'm Dr. Catherine Komujisha Tindiwensi, a senior lecturer in the Department of Projects and Small Business Management. And I teach entrepreneurship and so many other things. So today, when we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, you have to have a mind of an entrepreneur. And how does that mind of an entrepreneur look like? Well, we all know that mindset is really definitely a psychological perspective. And that means that entrepreneurs think in a specific way. Today, we are focusing on the youth. How do we think as the youth? It is very important because are you independent? Are you seeking for independence? Or are we depending on, because when you're a youth, you're depending on other people. When you're growing up, you may keep in that trend, but do you reach a point and you say, I want to be independent, and you deliberately pursue independence? Are you able to take risks, or you feel that if I do this, I will fail, or, And then there is what about creativity? How do you orient your mind to come up with new things, new ideas? And as we go ahead, we'll see what are some of the areas where you can actually be creative and innovate. How does the current trend, how these current trends of technology, how do they favor or inhibit entrepreneurship, especially among the youth? So, but the mindset is the one that drives the action. If you don't have a right attitude, you cannot actually go ahead and act. Even when you just think about it and you don't take action, it just remains in your head and we will not see anything out of that. So that's what we are here, I think, to discuss. And I hope we'll be able to articulate how most of the people are youths. How can we therefore leverage that and we spur economic development as a country? Yeah.
Dr. Kathy, for starters, I would love to ask that. What is your assessment when it comes to young people today? What is your assessment? What is the connection between the young people today and the entrepreneurial mindset? Do you feel like we are involved or we are still lagging behind?
My assessment is that the youth are very enterprising. And even from research, I've also researched on youth in entrepreneurship. The youth are very enterprising, but there is something that they don't do right. And it is also part of the entrepreneurial mindset, where they want very quick results. They want to do something. They don't want to perfect a skill. You must be very good at what you're doing. And so that you are known for that. If you're making ice cream, make it good. If you've decided to dance, dance. Whatever you choose to do, do it well. So we find some of the youth don't take time to master what they are supposed to do. And then in the end, they also want quick results. So when you focus on the immediate results, you don't have a long-term perspective. And entrepreneurship is a process. It's a long journey. If you look at the people we celebrate, they've taken time to build their businesses. So some of the youth have that tendency to just compare themselves with the successful entrepreneurs, and that's why they want that to be their starting point. And that's where they get it wrong, because then they start making the wrong decisions.
Actually, Doctor, what you're saying is very correct, because we have the youth who have good ideas, but then they have limitations at the same time. They keep giving excuses. Oh, we don't have enough land. Oh, we don't have enough capital. Oh, we don't have enough resources. But then again, when you talk to several mentors, they tell you, you know what, the issue is the mindset. It's not about having big land, big pans of land. It's about utilizing the available resources. So it goes back to the mindset. So as we are still understanding the entrepreneurial mindset, Doctor, what are some of the things that we need to do to change this mindset?
Before we go there, there's something you've mentioned about the way people perceive themselves. Yeah. Now, people are looking at external resources, yet the resources, the entrepreneur himself is the number one resource. Before I go out to look for money, before I go out to buy land, me as Catherine, I am a resource. And that is something that I tell the youth, always look at yourself. What do you have? Starting with yourself. Because people will say, I don't have anything. There is no one who doesn't have anything. You have an education, you have your parents, you have your community, you have a smartphone, you have something you can start with. So this tendency of people running to look for external resources, and they don't even realize what is at hand, what they already have. So for me, the starting point is that acknowledge, recognize, actually you have to recognize what you have. You could be having good, public speech skills, you could have communication skills, you could have social media skills. We have a lot of skills that just go unnoticed. So that is the starting point, that when it comes to the issue of resources, youth actually have what it takes. The challenge again is the mindset. Even when you go to the bank to look for funds, the manager will assess, how is this money going for gambling? Is it going to end somewhere in a nightclub, or are you really serious about what you're doing? So they are also assessing again your entrepreneurial attitude. Yeah, so it's a skill that people have to master.
So what do you think needs to be done, Doctor, in Uganda today to change the mindset specifically?
I cannot say that it is an easy thing, but we have to try, because we have so many youth around us. One, we will not stop talking. Talk shows like this one, they are impacting on the youth. Maybe someone will say, oh, I need to, first of all, how does an entrepreneurial mindset look like? I have to be creative. I have to be able to take risk. I don't fear to fail. Even if I fail, I learn from my failure and move on. And I become diligent. I set my goals and I pursue them. Youth set goals, and before you know it, they get so diverted. They don't focus and pursue a specific direction. So we have to make sure we keep guiding them. For us, as if I say old citizens, we need to be able to take up this responsibility very seriously. We will not get tired of coming up with such kind of programs or supporting you, the youth, to talk to other youth. There can be training. There are several training programs that are going on, but some of them may not even be interested. Now, that's where now government has to deliberately look at youth inclusive programs. And I think the government is already doing something substantial in targeting the youth, specifically targeting the youth, and also meeting with the people who have made it, and they hear their stories. Those success stories are very important to motivate the youth. Sometimes youth lack the motivation because they also lack the mentors. They don't know, they don't have an idea that someone started like in a nursery school to become a professor. They just see a professor out there. So that's what is happening when it comes to entrepreneurship. People see a finished product, but they don't know that this person one time was also going to a nursery school, and it was a journey of about maybe 30 years to become a professor. So I think that's where we as the government, the private sector, all of us have a role to play. When it comes to the entrepreneurs, they have to learn that all of us have been youth. We did a study and it was published recently, but one of the findings was that actually youth still need support to be successful. And we don't take that for granted. So if you are a business person, allow some youth to come into your business and learn. If you're a parent and your child is coming up with some, normally it may be weird because you may not understand even what they are talking about. Allow them to experiment. Support them and see whether this is going to work out or it is going to fail. So that all of us have to be flexible to allow these youth come up with their unique ideas. We give them a chance to experiment. When they fail, we don't blacklist them. You say, no, I gave you my 1 million and you squandered it. The business just
Take it
collapsed.
to betting.
Yeah, no, if it's not betting, but you tried and things just didn't work. But you need to follow up with this youth and say, did you learn anything? What lessons did you pick from your experience? And the guy will say, okay, I think I underestimated my expenses. Or I thought things were going to go like this. Or I didn't know the government would come in, or KCCA came in and something. Now, in that process, they are learning. That is something they are not likely to repeat. So we give also the youth that opportunity to experiment. When they fail, take it easy. They are learning. Yes.
But then, Dr. Kathy, that's for someone that is having that mindset of, yes, I should learn from my mistakes. Like I said, one should be resilient. How about those people who are weak-hearted and they're like, these inspirational speakers also, how do you tell me that I became rich out of selling, let's say, Matoke on the roadside? But anyways, it goes back to us. Like we should embrace our mistakes sometimes, learn from them, and maybe seek guidance, like Dr. Kathy has said. Yeah.
I think the youth, we should not deceive them that there is quick money. They just want to believe that. And that's even me, if I woke up and I have 1 billion on me, I think I would smile the whole day. But there is no such money anywhere. So they need to be told the truth. They need to know that even when you want to start a business, you have to sit down, think. People don't want to think. Critical thinking is a key skill. Sit down and plan your route. And then, definitely you have to plan. You have to be ready to challenge yourself. It's not just going to be so easy, and we shouldn't deceive the youth that it will just be, it's just an easy thing. But it is deliberate. It is a deliberate journey. And also, in your case now, that this economy, you can see, there are very few people who have, formal jobs. So most of the youth are likely to end up in self-employment. That is a starting point, and that alone is a motivation. If you spend 5 years, you're looking for a job and you can't see it, then you have to sit down and think, because you are getting old, you are about to have a family, you're about to have children. If you have them, they're about to go to school. You can't go to dad and ask for you look funny when you have a degree. So the youth really have to compose themselves. I've seen some youths who get a bit frustrated. You think you've gone to Makerere, you have your first class, the whole world is waiting for you. Then you realize that they are tossing you from every office, and so people get frustrated. I would say don't look at bad vices. I know we are not talking about that, but that is a diversionary plan. People go into alcohol, people go into different social behaviors, just trying to bury their frustration. And it goes back to what I started with, that you with a degree, you are already enough resource. And people don't stick to what you studied. If you studied engineering, you may find you're good at comedy. If you did BCom, you may find you're good at making beads and handcrafts, and you be creative. Yes, don't just stick to your occupation and what you studied.
So you have to match with what the job market offers.
You have to be alert. What is actually happening around you? And 2, for you as a person, you are number 1 resource. What do you have? What skills do you have? What are your passions? What do you do easily, with ease? You may make people laugh. And before you know it, you can make a lot of money out of it. But yet you're sticking to BCom, I have to go to a bank, I have to go to this, and yet you're losing time. Just start with what you have. You can make people smile, start with that. And then the bank will find you when you at least you have transport.
As a person, part of the education sector, don't you think that the lacking of entrepreneurial mindsets among the youth has been encouraged by the education sector? Because you see it's more of theory and less of practical. It's basically just us studying what someone else thought about 20 or 30 years back. It's nothing like encouraging thought process, individual thought process. What do you think about it?
My view now, if I talk as an educationist, it takes so many players to make a good student. The student has a role to play, and the school has a role to play. The teachers, the education, the Ministry of Education, the government, all of us have a role to play. But if we just play a blaming game, in my view, it's that it will not help. The student has the responsibility. That's why I've been at all levels, because with the PhD, I think I don't have any other course I need to do. But at every stage, there will be people who pass and people who fail. Even if I pick the ones with first class alone and put them in a classroom, and I give them a test, I will have people with a retake. Yet they came with the first class. Why? It means there are so many factors outside the classroom that affect someone's performance. So even if I go to class and I teach the same lecture, you will perceive it differently, he will perceive it differently. I may give an example and someone goes and starts a business, just from a class example. We often give students like a group discussion question, and people start businesses. Others don't even do the group discussion. They just write their name and get the marks. So the way the students appreciate what is at hand is very, very important. Yeah, because you can talk all you want, but people may not take it in. So for me, I think that when we talk about nurturing youth in entrepreneurship, we are talking about people who also have a desire to become better. There are those who have resigned. There are those who don't want to learn, who are basically not focused. Okay? So the education system is not the best, back to your question. It's not the best, but there is a very big change. And if I talk of what we are doing here, we've also started now like a mentorship program where we want to see our students, once they leave the university, they should be able to attest they will have done some kind of business, and they will have been mentored by the university lecturers. But also, we noticed that maybe internship, it was a remedy to see that by the time you get out of school, you have at least some skill. If you did BCom, whatever, you went to an institution and you actually practiced record keeping, you did some bit of accounting, and by the time you are employed, you actually have employable skills. We also realize that is not probably enough, okay? And that's why now we have the mentorship program. There are so many youth incubation programs. And that's actually one reason why we see you have the MOBS Entrepreneurship Incubation and Innovation Center, to try to nurture the youth and their startups so that they can be able to have higher chances of succeeding in a business. Yeah, so I think in my view, let's encourage the youth to take the responsibility. Entrepreneurs don't run away from responsibility. No. They know that their life largely depends on their actions. So if we blame the system, we blame the education, we blame government, we'll be stuck while other people are moving forward. Yeah.
We talked about the whole theory part in some of these universities. Of course, I wouldn't want to mention some. But then there's this problem, Dr. Kathy. Sometimes, we go for internship. Most universities have the highest people go for internship is for 2 months, right? And to some extent, I just feel like 2 months, it's not enough for someone to learn a little bit of some practicals. Okay, how would you advise young people, since you said it starts with us, how would you advise, let's say, a fresh graduate from a university to navigate maybe into their career or to start up some small business without thinking of what they learned in school, that it wasn't enough?
I would even think that even waiting until you finish university is very late. Because it is very clear that we are likely to have maybe 70% of our people who graduate going into self-employment. It is very clear. And I don't think that we are going to have more employment opportunities to absorb this huge youth population. Even if the private sector grows at what percentage, but we are still expecting, or we will see, that most of the youth have to go into self-employment. Now, if that is already given, then the youth must know, how do I start? What ideas, how do people get ideas? That is now what you're asking. How do people get business ideas? You have to be alert. Look at what is happening around you, both the positive and the negative. If government changes program, now they've introduced the parish development model, how do I come in? Do I come in as a beneficiary? Do I come in as a service provider? Do I come in as a mobilizer? Do I come in? You must know, okay, if you don't want to go into the government program, but you look at the potholes, you look at the traffic jam, are you going to come up with an app to help us maybe know where there is no traffic jam? You have to think, observe what is happening around you, remember that you are your own number one resource, and then offer a service that is going to solve a problem at hand. Because once you're solving a problem, then someone is ready to pay for it, okay? But people want money, and they don't want to offer service. They don't want to solve any problem. There are actually so many problems. Look around yourself. What problems do we have? Is it the rubbish in your community? Is it the grass that is overgrowing? Is it the high temperature? And then how can that be translated into a service? Yeah. And
actually, Doctor, I've been here thinking about specifically this hub and its impact, and I wanted to actually know, from the moment, which stages does this incubation have? Because do we monitor these people after they have left this incubation hub as entrepreneurship hub? Do you monitor them to know that, okay, how are these students that have come out of this incubation hub progressing in the outside world? Is there help that we could give them in terms of market, in terms of access to other resources? And then also we wanted to also find out the role this incubation hub plays when it comes to the growth of entrepreneurship mindset. And do you propose that such hubs should be in actually all educational centers in schools so that they can be taken through such activities even before they leave their schools? Okay,
I will start with, I think, your second question, the part of it. If I forget one, you remind me. But what this center does, of course, being in your business school, definitely there's research. There's a research component of generating knowledge. What are the causes of unemployment, or how are youth coping? How did the people cope with the COVID? How is it? Different kinds of research, but that are all related with the business and entrepreneurship. But also there are training programs. There are in-house training programs. There are those where we have partners. But I could speak of the one which I coordinate, which is in agribusiness. And there are very many different programs, one with NSSF. We have awards, we have business plan competition. So there are different avenues of making sure that the youth can actually be attracted to being nurtured as entrepreneurs. And whether this should be replicated in every university, I can't say yes or no, because every university has its strategic direction. But it was we felt that this was important as a business school, and it is adding value because it was a bridge between the academics and the industry, which to me I think is a good thing. Those universities that may want to have that, it's fine. It would definitely add a lot of value, and people get hands-on skills. Then the issue of whether we follow up, the challenge, and I think this is what happens in most institutions. When you are a student, you're in some universities also, but when you finish, you vanish. You are no longer in our records. You change phone numbers. You don't, you lose touch completely.
Doctor, we think there should be a system by the university to stop something like that, to stop students from vanishing.
But it is a good thing where we look at tracer studies and how our students performing, especially those that would have participated in the incubation programs. But remember, that would now be another program to follow up. Now, I know it is not easy. We've done, people have asked about tracer studies and where are all these guys vanishing. It is not easy. Because you look at Uganda, we have many students from Kenya, from Rwanda, from TZ, so how do you follow up? But those who are keen, they definitely keep in touch with the university. Like you're still, talking to us as university lecturers. This is a way of keeping in touch with the university. But there are so many who are not keen, and the phone number, they basically vanish. And even when they want, because as a university, we offer that kind of a public good. This is what we offer is a public good. So even if you come to my office and you say, Doctor, I was working on my business plan, I have this idea. The first thing that comes to my mind is not to give you an invoice. The first thing I will look at you as my student and say, okay, were you our student? Or even if you are not our student. And then I will voluntarily give you information. So I think those who finish, they should keep in touch with their, with the university. We know that it is tough out there. And I think most of them are ready and willing to help. Yeah.
Well, I think it's also important, like Dr. Kathy has said, if you know you're out there and you've been part of some incubating thingy group or segment, please keep in touch with people to seek guidance and help. Let's go in for a very short break and we shall be right back.
Welcome back from that commercial break, and of course we are still at the Youth Business Lounge as we discuss the entrepreneurship mindset with Dr. Kathy Komojisha, of course, who's giving us deeper insights on what needs to be done, how do we change our mindset, and what are some of the activities and what are some of those programs we should be involved in order for us to be successful entrepreneurs out there. And she kept mentioning how we come out of the university and vanish, but I think that should change. I think we need to be in touch with our mentors, we need to be in touch with people who actually can help us upscale our businesses. And of course, Dr. Kathy, we are still having a very meaningful discussion with you, and I think this is the part where I wanted to ask, how do we leverage technology with entrepreneurship today, Doctor?
Okay, I think technology, of course, is here to stay. It is not going anywhere. And the advantage for the youth is that you've come in at the right time for technology. You were born in the technology era.
Yes.
Unlike some of us who are learning the hard way. So I think the emergence of technology and digitalization presents more of opportunities for the youth.
But it also takes them out. It also takes them. It has taken many opportunities because now, if you start depending on a machine, that means you don't need human beings anymore. You get that point. So realize that if someone was providing a service for something, now they are no longer needed. For example, there's a time I was watching TikTok and there's a restaurant where like you just sit in the middle and then there is like a machine moving the food like this. You pick whatever you want. So that means when the waitresses won't be needed if someone has an assuring company. Yes. So
okay, that is long term. As far as let's look at our context of the Ugandan youth, the typical Ugandan youth.
Yeah.
Of course, technology, we are cognizant of the fact that it is changing very fast. So those robots are about to come probably. We don't know how long they will take.
They're going to take our jobs, Doctor.
When you give someone coursework,
yes.
It's away from what? It's away from business. If you give someone coursework, they're going to learn with ChatGPT. There is nothing like thinking for themselves. And then
you see, It is the student. That's what I told you before. The student has to take the responsibility to learn. Learning is not passing an exam. You can get 100% and you've not learned anything.
Exactly.
So learning, it is deliberate. Yes, that you can use that and it gives you a very quick answer in 1 minute. But at the same time, look at other articles, look at other textbooks, look at what people are doing, talk to them, and then you enhance your learning. Okay, so back to the question of IT. I think in the Ghanaian context, for now, it is still more of an advantage.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? It is focusing more on you. You are because here we are using, intellectual capital. It's not like where people use it to go, you want 50 million to go to China and import this, or Dubai and import this, bring lots of computers. Now you need a smartphone, you already have it. Because when you're doing coursework and all that, you maybe had it. Now you already have your brain. It has already been sharpened. You've gone through all these trainings. You've networked with different people. You can even search and know what is happening in the grant that is coming. So now you have to leverage that and come up with something, because it doesn't require a lot of money for IT. And another good advantage is that most of the youth, I see even house girls, okay, sorry, not that there are less of people, but people who have not gone to school, they are actually better at social media than professors.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that means that actually this IT can be done by everybody. And if someone can record making her cakes and she's going to make some money, to me, I think that is an advantage. Then also, when it comes to looking at the youth as service providers, most of the businesses now, the competition is very stiff, and every business is trying to find a way of cutting costs. Every business is trying to improve its own efficiency. So the youth now come in with solutions, that help the businesses to become more efficient. If you become more efficient, you are able now to improve to maximize your revenue or profit. So I think that also gives us some opportunity. Now the issue of robots and all of them taking...
I think necessarily say robots, but you see, these things, let me give a good example. You see, for example, people will be building on a site and they need porters, but now they are cranes.
Yeah.
So you'll find that a person who would have been getting like a 5K at the end of the day is not getting a 5K because the crane is there. And for it, it's not like you who has to be given resting hours and food. For it, it works endlessly. But how I would look at that,
yes, doctor,
from the entrepreneurship point of view, is like being aware of your environment. The ecosystem, how it is all happening, because you are not going to stop cranes from being imported into this country, because they are more efficient. And if you are a business, you're going to look for more efficient ways of doing business. So if I can bring one machine that will do work for 10 workers, I would go for that. And they are more efficient. They won't get tired. They won't ask me for lunch allowance. They won't need transport allowance. So basically, it is more efficient. So for you as a youth who is working in that environment, how do you adapt? You have to be flexible. Which skill can you learn to make yourself more, more relevant? Because as much as we are talking about being replaced, but there are so many online courses. You can even learn to do something I've never even thought about doing. I just come across it, I watch videos, I do this, I start doing it, and I start even selling. I may not even need to move out. I've heard of people who sell shirts, but they actually don't have a shop. They are just on the phone. They just create something and get orders. Then they go downtown, they get contacts of the people who actually have the shirts. And for them, they are just playing on their phones. And then in the process, they get money. So I think that's the direction the youth need to look at much more. How do we leverage this technology? Because it is not going anywhere.
And of course, the fear is that it will replace us.
Okay, not only will replace facing. But now, of course, Uganda has a variety of people. Now, in regards to technology, as we talk about business, what should, for example, a person right now in the remote areas do? Because those people are also very creative people, but then they cannot afford data, some do not have smartphones. So what is your advice for them?
My advice for this is specifically now ICT.
Yeah.
Like any other technology, the adoption curve. Not everyone will, even when they brought the phone, when Celtel came, not everyone just started by buying the phone. There are those who were the early adopters, there are even the laggards, there are people will adopt technology at different phases. Now, there is why it is structured that maybe most of the technologies will be adopted more in the urban and cities. Urban, they get some money out of, by just posting this recording. It appears like it is cheap money, easier money to earn than if I'm digging for a whole hour, I'm sweating in the sun, and we're using rudimentary kind of tools. You may not have gumboots, you don't have anything. So the technology we are using is still very poor. And it is not going to be lucrative for the youth. Now, that aside, again, when you talk of agriculture, people talk about the actual production. But when we look at the agricultural sector, the agricultural value chain is broad. There are those who may just supply inputs, okay, like the people in Container Village who are selling fertilizers. That is a little bit easier. They are also playing a role in the agricultural sector. There are those who are doing the actual production. And my personal advice is that not every youth is likely to go for that, the primary production. And if they do, then they have to be very smart in selecting the right enterprise. That rhymes well with the character of a youth. Now, the character of a youth is that they are very fast, they want quick things, they want quick results, and they are looking for money. That's one thing that is very clear now. It is, we have enough evidence. Whereas maybe my mom could have done farming to have food for her children, the youth of today is not going to do farming for the sake of having food in a granary. No. They are very clear what they want. They want money. Now, this other thing of social benefits, being part of a community, it is secondary to youth. They are looking at it like the way you do boutique.
And until they haven't been depressed. But after getting depressed, that's when the social capital is important to them, actually.
Yes. Because I've interviewed the youth, I've published around youth entrepreneurship in the agricultural sector, so I know that very well. They are looking for money. Now, if the youth are looking for money, then primary production should not be their primary target. Because if I look at the value chain, the production node is the least product. They are your coffee. So there are so many dynamics, but they can be guided. So where do the youth come into this whole agricultural value chain? They are, after production, there is processing, and there is storage. That is very easy. Even if you move around with your motorbike.
But the market, doctor, after you have gotten, gotten all.
I'm coming.
Yes, doctor.
The problem is not the market.
Yes, doctor.
In my view, if you look at the food prices in Kampala, they are very high, because Uganda is feeding the region. Our maize is going to Kenya, it's going to Sudan, beans everywhere. So the food we have is actually, the problem is not the market. I wouldn't call that our number one problem. The biggest problem by the way could be the quality of our products. As far as the agricultural sector is concerned, the quality standards. Because if I take yogurt, it should be yogurt. It shouldn't be having some things I don't understand. Okay? So that is where our problem is. If the youth can come in and say, how do we deal with this quality issue? And maybe you come up with a solution, maybe tarpaulins, and then you deal with specific farmers in your area, and you maybe buy maize, put in a store. I can assure you that you will have enough people to buy that that maize of yours. If you take it again and mill it, you can pack. Because the youth, like you people who have been educated, they know branding, they've studied all that here at MOOBS, and everywhere they know you have to brand, you have to package, you have to market, you have to, go to URSB, you can register your company online, they have all that skill. So it's basically knowing the right entry point. And that level of marketing, trading, processing would have been good, but it may require some capital. Now, you assess yourself. If your dad can give you some 10 million to buy just one equipment, yeah. And one thing we need to know, the youth, and those youth who are watching, is that people are ready to support the youth. You know, they still have like that sympathy vote. If you prove that you can use this money well, there are more people willing to support you than you think, starting with your own family. But if they doubt you, they will not even give you 100,000 for business. If you can't handle your stress, if you can't manage your the way you plan, you demoralize the people who are supposed to support you. Because how much is tuition? How much is tuition? You know how much your parents paid. And if a parent can pay 5 million, including these hostels and everything, 5 million every maybe 5 months, don't you think this person is ready to part with 10 million? If you show them that actually you are going to become better, you are going to start with 10 million. The problem is the guy will give you a budget of 70 million. I mean, you've not started a business. You want me to give you 70 million and lose it, and you're my son or my whatever. What do I do? Do I take you to jail? You see that? But let them allow themselves to learn, and when you fail small. You start with 4 million. What can you do with 4 million? There are things you can do. You can do something with 4 million. And you start and grow. Now, when you prove to the people that are ready to support you, which is normally family in our context, and they are able to support you, then you grow. Now they will also give you more money. But you prove yourself. The youth don't want to prove themselves. They just want to be given money. Now, nobody is going to give you that money.
Without proving yourself.
Not even your dad, not even your mom. Your mom will just give you transport, make sure you don't get a problem. Maybe while walking, you're knocked by border, then she will never forgive herself. She'll be like, Kale, you just get. But basically, to give you sensible money to get off your feet, you have to prove yourself.
Doctor, let's talk about small, medium businesses, because that's also another area that you normally cover. But with this area, I wanted us to specifically talk about those practical skills that an entrepreneur must have to be successful, especially for those who are dealing with small, medium enterprises.
Doctor, before we answer that, I'm taking this time to advertise. I've been taking care of chicken.
Yes.
So, Mustafa sold around 100. So Mustafa sold
Which broilers, layers?
Broilers.
Okay.
Yes.
So we remain with 12 chicken, and we are still waiting for our buyer.
Where are you located? Okay.
So you come through, give you a chicken. Yeah.
Actually, Capital Chicken is selling. They buy from you. They buy from you, and then for them they just give you your profits at the end of the month. So you don't need to look for the market. You don't need to look for the customers. For them, they just buy from you. So I think you should also be in touch with people like that.
So yes. Remaining with 12%, you are doing well.
Yeah. You have the remarks from doctor. You're doing well. Yes.
You're doing well. So back to the question of SMEs.
Yes.
I think the youth, given now even what we've discussed, the youth are most likely to start with small startup capital. There are those who are privileged. Yes, they can afford, but it is also not good because they are going to use that as a learning. Remember, entrepreneurship is a learning process. So if I give my son 100 million, 200 million, probably he's likely to lose it. Most of these entrepreneurs you see have started businesses. Several businesses have failed before you see one successful one. And those are stories that are never told. Yeah, if I tell you the businesses I've done, you'd be shocked. You'd be like, but you don't know even a thing about this business you're doing. So if I had, I would tell you. Yeah. But anyway, there are nobody, so many businesses that fail until you settle down with one. If you do one where you are already qualified, you're lucky. Maybe you did IT and you go into app development. There you have actually less chances of failing. If I studied agriculture and I just say, let me leave Kampala and I go on my farm, I'm more likely to make it. But if I say I'm going to a salon, you know, or a boutique or anything where I don't have a technical skill, there the chances of failing are also very high. Yeah, so what do you have to do if you start small? Starting point is look at this business that this is just a starting point. You start small, but with a very big growth potential. We talk about there are businesses that can never grow. And I'm not, I don't want to despise anyone's business, but let me give an example. If we used to have people who are used to run around in traffic jams selling airtime. So if I'm self-employed, a self-employed youth selling airtime in the traffic jam, I cannot grow.
Yeah, because you're depending on something that
it is already constrained. Unless I have a chain of I bring all these boys and they are all reporting to me and I'm the employer. So when you are talking about starting small, you need to look at the growth potential of your business. Does this idea, can it grow? Can this business grow? And if it is going to grow, what are the factors that are going to favor it? Because not every business is likely to grow at the same rate, okay? There are some that will not grow at all. There are those that will grow very fast. There are those that may take their time. Now, for you as an entrepreneur, the point is you have to have that strategic orientation, that long-term view. Where is it going to end? Okay? If I start, let me give an example, chicken. Her chickens, okay? She's doing broilers. That is a high growth. It has potential for growth. Because you may have started with 100, when you sell them, you expand your scale. You expand your room. You double your scale. You may, exactly. Yeah, and yes, and then you now even go into slaughtering. You can expand. You may start with one supermarket, then you find you're supplying to 20 supermarkets. Then you start having your own cold storage facility. You may start having your own trucks. So you see there you are growing. Okay, so people need to know that where is the vision? Can I grow? And then set your goal. Move towards that. Should not be discouraged to start small, but have a vision and go for it.
Perfect. Actually, as we come to the conclusion of our show, Doctor, we would like you to speak to the youth who are watching us out there. What could you tell them? What advice would you give them, especially when it comes to their mindset? Because that's where the challenge is still, we're still facing, the challenge of the mindset.
The youth out there, I want to affirm what we've already been saying, that what is in your mind is what we will see happening, okay? The mindset must be ready to take the risk, to be, it is what drives the action. If you feel bad about yourself, then you will sulk and stay in bed or that. But be positive about yourself. Know that you have already what it takes. You have something. Discover yourself. What do you have? And start with that. And look at your goal. Set a goal. Set a business that can actually grow. And then work towards that. With time, you will be there. And people will be supporting you. Even people will come to, to offer you the resources that maybe you say, no, you wait, I first finish my stage, this stage. Yeah, so I think the youth can make it. Just be confident and go for it.
It's like I always say, guys, pray about these things. If you need to start up a business, pray about
Yeah.
Prayer is important. That man up there listens. And also one thing I've realized is that we as young people should be patient. We should learn to be more patient. Anyway, like Dr. Kathy said, there's no big money. So we're not. So let's be patient.
Yes.
Let's embrace most of the mistakes that we make in these businesses. Learn from them. Above it all, let's seek guidance. With all that, I wish you all the best.
I think she has said it all. Maybe next week.
Well, for those who are watching us, one of the most important things I've learned is that do it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. And it's very important because most people like to procrastinate things. Then I've also learned that it is very important to actually associate with mentors who can actually build your mental skills when it comes to the mindset challenge. And also I've learned to use the resources available, the available resources. For example, the students in Macquarie University Business School should be utilizing this entrepreneurship hub, to come out and say, I was part of the entrepreneurship center at Macquarie University Business School and I was able to start something for myself. So for those who have been watching us, thank you so much for being a part of the Youth Business Launch Show. Thank you so much for being a part of us every Saturday. We're always here on DSTV 372, GOTV 320. We're always there to give you insights on how you can upgrade yourself as an entrepreneur.